Welcome everyone. Today we have a very special Bloodmage Infinite Blink Temporalis build for the Season 0.3 of Path of Exile 2. So looking behind me, we're looking at the Chinese player's demonstration of this speedy Blink Bloodmage that tramples the entire map as you just saw over there. It is incredibly fast, tons of damage that one-shots everything on the map. And the best thing about this build is, I have been looking around for a good Temporalis Blink Mage build, and I think this is by far the fastest in terms of map clear, in terms of skill rotations, which you are just blinking and also auto casting your spells through cast on critical and also Spellslinger. It also has really good survivability and also tons of damage against the boss. So let's have a look at this particular boss that is about to be summoned. That was gone. that was a really unique boss, by the way. So yes, this build is incredibly powerful. The Chinese player who's demonstrating this build is clearing out tier 16 juiced up maps and also hyper maps in about 1 minute, and it can go further as well. So here we have another boss fight and the boss is gone. So there is a lot of footages I want to go through with you guys, and because it's so short, let's go through a few of them. And of course, a big thank you and also credits to the Chinese content creator Dan Wu. He has made a lot of detailed explanations, over 30 minutes of detailed explanation and also more explanation on the cast on critical, the using of energy meta gems, and also how they work. So how does this Blink Temporalis build work and how is this different from other builds is that we're still using Trample Toe. If you guys remember our previous, and I do apologize for the blinking fast, it may be a little difficult to the eye as you blink super fast, but we are using a number of unique items including Headhunters, Temporalis of course, and also the Chair of Storm, which allows us to cast fast lightning bolt. Maybe this is too fast. Let's go for something that is not super fast. That was another demonstration of a tier 16, tier 15 map. So here we have a lot of breaches on this map. So let's have a look at the initial clear of the build and then we go further. I'll keep explaining about the build. So the build itself have a variety of unique items, including Trample Toe that allows you to AoE destroy packs of units on the map, as you can see over here. It also have critical damage instant leech coming from the unique gloves. It stacks a lot of casting speed and also uses a number of potentially higher end gears that really pushes the boundary between the cooldowns of Blink and also how you can gain energy through Blink. There's two ways of using the energy you gain. One is cast on critical, of course, which is a natural, I guess, meta gem for the auto casting Temporalis Bloodmage. There's also Spellslinger, which is a great addition to the build that allows you to pretty much auto clear the entire map. The build itself have about 0.3 second cooldowns to blink, which is definitely enough. Now the Chinese content creator does have some really high-end gears, which I will be looking into the budgeting of those gears and also calculating how much it will cost to make a solid build without having all the end-game gears he has. Do keep in mind, the build will use Temporalis and you do want a high roll Temporalis. We're looking into the breakpoint and also how the cooldowns will be affected depending on how much your roll of Temporalis is, but you can see, the build itself is incredibly fast. It is speedy, it is just everywhere on the map, and you can progress and you can path, you can do pretty much all the content in the game, and it is very satisfying to see the build work after multiple changes to the unique items and also after the, I guess, adjustments and nerfs to the build potentially in the past seasons that was first introduced. So if we come over here, I will have a number of links that is available for you guys to have a look, just a demonstration of this build. Now, the Chinese content creator has made multiple explanations through the skill links, through the use of the meta gems, and also through the gears. But it is harder for you guys to understand Chinese, and he did not share his path of building, or any builder's guide. So it took me about 3 hours to translate every piece of the gear, and also written additional notes coming from a number of the updated videos to give you guys the best understanding of this build. Now, I did do my research. I looked into other Chinese content creators' Temporalis build with cast on Conant and also additional curses with Temporalis. There's also the English community with a number of Temporalis build that I had look around, and I did check every build that I can find. It is possible I missed some Temporalis build, but I believe the one we're learning and the one I'm preparing to play, yes, I did buy my gears too, guys. I'm not making this video just because, it's a cool build, I want to play the Bloodmage. So in the future videos, I will show you guys the budgeting of finding the crucial gears for this build, how much it will cost potentially to get into the build, how do you transition from a witch into the Bloodmage, and also what are the crucial gears that can help you to make the build work. So I looked around for a few days and this is the best build I've seen, and I did a lot of translations, a lot of, I guess, research to make sure we're getting into the right build for the Temporalis. So coming over to the builder's guide, the links will be in the video below together with all the demonstration and also the build. Let's briefly have a look at the core mechanics of how this build is working and how this build from the Chinese content creator over here is different to the other builds. So firstly, we use Temporalis to reduce the cooldowns of your spells, especially Blink. The Temporalis cooldown reduction also works for the Chore of Storm, which will trigger a lightning bolt that has an innate cooldown. So the higher the roll on the Temporalis, the better it is for all your abilities. Now, Temporalis can go up to 2 seconds, and yes, I did buy this one a few days ago, which is under 100 divine. The prices of those Temporalis robes are going up. So 2 seconds is the max roll, but you can go a little higher if I can help you guys find, not this one. So here, you can go a little higher. If you are looking into getting Temporalis, I will strongly recommend don't get anything below minus 0.8. So minus 0.8 is definitely the minimal requirement to get things going. Minus 0.9 is a little more pricey due to the inflation of items and also the divine. There's a lot of divine in the market. There is the 2-second Temporalis, which can go very high in price, and Temporalis can roll even higher into 2.33 seconds. I saw that for one mirror, and that is gone in the past few days. So at the moment on the market, it can roll over beyond 2 seconds, and it's selling for about ridiculous prices, which I don't recommend getting. Now, we'll look into the budgeting. So rest assured, I'm not trying to get you guys to do 1,000 divine build. I bought this one for about 100 divine. So the price of this one is probably 150 at least divine, but we'll look into lower cooldowns and how this affect you. Because this is the most crucial pieces, I do not recommend, if you guys are planning to invest in one, do not recommend anything lower than 1.8 seconds. Minus 1.8 seconds is the bare minimum you want to consider, or maybe 1.777999 or something like that. Okay. Excuse me, let me get some water, let's get into the build. There's a lot of things I want to explain, and it's quite crucial to understand everything. So, Temporalis will reduce the cooldowns of your spells. So if you come over to the skill gems, this means lower cooldowns for Lightning Bolt, lower cooldowns for the Blink over here, which is essential to get the build working. Now, after Temporalis, what we're combining is the Chore of Storm. This Lightning Bolt is triggered on critical hit, and this works well without cast on critical, which has nerfed this a little bit, but there's a way to work around it. So Lightning Bolt is one of the skills that is combined with Trample to deal tremendous AoE damage. So you might have seen in some of the blinking around demonstrations over here, the monsters just explode on the map entirely. And this is the effect of using Lightning Bolt and also Trample. It is a very satisfying feeling, especially when you have incredible amount of pack size, a lot of monster density, running breaches, or just running massive maps with so many monsters. This particular item, so Lightning Bolt with Trample, is amazing combination. And overkill damage is splashed out. It gives you just incredible map clear, and also pretty decent damage against the boss if they happen to be around other enemies. To follow from this, we have the gloves. The Artillery's Acuity of just this life leeching glove. I cannot pronounce those funny names. So this allows you to leech instantly with critical hit. You're pretty much stacking 100% critical hit on your spark, and this means, well, you're leeching instantly. This also provides some nice critical hit chances, and this can come with 3 socketing, which we'll talk about why it's important to go with casting speed over here for the socketing. And of course, you can go with Headhunter, which is just incredible for the map clear. Everything you get from a Headhunter is good. Now, I know some of us might have played Headhunters and realized that having Headhunter and having the modifier that allows you to blink in front of enemies may be bad. But for the Temporalis Blink Mage, you don't care if you blink in front of enemies. That's what you wanted. So every effects from the Headhunter is great for this build. And Headhunter will definitely give you some additional stats, including tons of health that can scale further with the Bloodmage. To go from there, we do have some additional usage of other unique items, which is not necessary but can be nice for the build. We don't need the extra mana, but over here we have additional critical chance for spells, additional critical spell bonus damage, and also we have the, I guess, a bit of chaos resist, which is not necessary. So following from that, that's most of the unique items, and let's go through the rare items. The weapon itself will give you plus skill rank. It is also socketed with some quite expensive rune of wisdom that plus skill rank put under 3, so you can get plus 7 skill ranks on your weapon. It is focused on getting additional extra fire, lightning, elemental damage, and the bigger focus is casting speed, which I'll explain very soon. There's a high focus on casting speed, while on the helmet it's a source of great energy shield together with additional life, critical chance, or any resistance you're missing. And this is also the case for the focus, getting tons of energy shield, critical chance for the 100% spell critical chance, and this can come with plus 4 to all spells together with casting speed. Now I'm not saying this build is going to be cheap. Keep in mind, we're looking at over 200 divines of a budget because this is quite a high-end build and use some really expensive uber unique items. As we keep going, the other rare ring will give you tons of all resistance, some bonus life, and also just finding resistance wherever you can. Bonus lightning damage is not bad as well. In terms of the flask, it is not a necessity to run the amazingly powerful flask, but here Other's Resolve is not bad just because you'll be getting additional guard if you overflow the healing, but it's not needed. What is recommended is Rite of Passage. Now, the choices of the spirit is really depending on your playing style. You can go with the Spirit of the Bear, which gives you more life and also more damage reduction, which is what I'm using. It is decent for the Bloodmage, especially having more life is always good with damage reduction. If you want to go with something offensive, I do believe in the notes we talk about it is the one we go with the Wolf. Oh, wait, maybe I didn't write it here. So, the Wolf for the Rite of Passage, maybe I'll show you guys over here. Better. Spirit of the Wolf. Where are we? So, I'm going to teleport to another player just to show you guys this one. It's not crazily expensive, but it's not cheap. So why we want to go with the bear or the wolf? The bear is more defensive, damage reduction is great, while the wolf over here will give you the additional skill speed, and also the skill speed will be quite nice because you want to hit a breakpoint as you cast those spells. Now over here I forgot to mention the Spirit of the Wolf also give us armor break, which will do quite a bit of physical damage coming from this build. And yes, I'm not going to buy that corruptor one, it's just to show you guys the demonstration. So coming back to our builder's guide, excuse me. The other two charms is really optional. It is not necessary. With the Grander Onslaught when you're slowed, and also when you're stunned, this just gives you immunity to stun. Nothing too special. The Wolf one is the bigger one because of the skill casting speed, which is a centerpiece to make this build much faster compared to all the other Temporalis build, at least from what I observed. So, to go from this, we had a brief look at of the gears, and in the next video I'll start to budget the gears correctly as I buy each piece of those gears, and to show you guys how much I bought for, and also the trade filters for those items. You can see I have started quite some of those as we speak. So, excuse me. Oh, throat is definitely not feeling well today. Maybe I'm a bit under the weather, I should take more breaks. So coming over to the skill links, this is quite important, and I'll try to explain everything with the combination of the notes that I have written through translation. So one thing it's nice to notice the notes is that the Chinese content creator currently have about 0.3 seconds for the blink cooldown. He can reduce this even further, but he did mention that this is also limited by his casting speed. So the cooldown for the blink skills is getting lowered every 2 levels you increase the rank of the skill for blink. And this is one of the reasons we try to get skill rank everywhere we can on the weapon, on the focus, and just whenever you can get the skill rank, it is very good to have because lower cooldowns. It is recommended to go with Temporalis between minus 1.9 to 2 seconds, but you can do minus 1.8 if you're really short, but I still recommend going for something higher because the lower cooldowns would benefit your lightning bolt. We can find more cooldown reductions on the passive tree as I show you guys alternatives to this particular setup if you don't have enough cooldown. The blink cooldown is supposedly to be limited by the casting speed. So what the Chinese content creators mentioned is that having high casting speed allows you to cast spark in between blinks, which is essential to do higher damage. But this is not necessary, but he mentioned that if you get the blink cooldowns to about 2 seconds, it might be harder to achieve such high casting speed. So you have to balance both casting speed and also cooldown reduction from passives and also from Temporalis for the best result. And we also have higher casting speed after casting critical. One thing to notice is that having enough HP to survive the fight is quite important, hence the choice of the gears having 75% all resist, and there isn't that much for chaos resist because we have so much life regen. We also have additional life recovery coming from the bases using the Takrot Timeless Jewel, which doesn't need to be massively crafted. The goal of the build is to have a 100% critical chance, and while stationary in the hideout, you can have around 95 to 96%, and that's enough. Some additional notice from the gears that we can observe from the Chinese content creator, and yes, it is a quite long video, so I wrote a lot of notes, is that we want to valve a helmet potentially for more spirit, because we need about 60 spirit for blink, and cast on critical after Dallas Desire. Spirit cost reduction will still cost 100 spirit. So this means that they will maybe running multiple meta gems. And if you do not have the spirit, there is a way to go around it by spending more passive points together with Against of the Darkness Jewel that provide us with the 12% spirit like the ones you see over here. The 12 spirit, not 12%. So the 12 spirit can be a fix around if you don't have enough spirit. But one way to do it is having a Veil helmet, which is a consideration. It is recommended for more damage to go with the Spirit of the Wolf on the Rite of Passage, as we mentioned earlier, and we will be using multiple skill gems in the meta gems. So as we come over to the skill lake section of the build, you can see Cast on Critical and also Spellslinger will have different skills. There will be one spark in the Spellslinger, and there will be one comment in the Cast on Critical. There's also a 6 link of 5 socket that spark separately for additional bossing damage. So let's have a look at the skills over here. So what we have is Blink is purposely made to only have 3 socket. Blink over here is also valved for the highest rank of level to level 20, quality 20, plus 1 rank from valving or corruption. Blink is combined with cooldown recovery, combined with Author's Augury, which means you only have 3 socketed support that gives you 3 plus skill rank to this particular spell. So Blink gets 3 plus skill rank by only having 3 support gems exactly. Finally, Blink also have rapid casting. So this is a very cool setup that allows Blink to gain tons of levels, hence reducing its cooldowns every 2 levels. In terms of life remnant, we're going with a basic setup with Harmonic Remnants and also the Remnant Potency. There you go. Now, there is a lot of other builds that use multiple links to Remnant, but remember that having more links over here means there's more spirit reservation cost, which can be very expensive to find it in the skill tree or on the gears. So you can go for more links over here, more supports, but just having the more spirit is more important. So where do we spend most of our spirit? We spend it on Blink, we also spend it on Cast on Critical. Cast on Critical is socketed with a comment that is level 20, quality 20, plus 1 skill rank from valving, and it doesn't have to have multiple sockets because it's just a skill over here. It is also combined with Artillery's Bloodletting, which allows you to do tons of physical damage, which is incredible. Together with Dallas Desire, just a well-rounded gem for everything, can be a little costly of course. And this is also combined with Boundless Energy and also Energy Retention to make sure you can be casting your meta gems as quickly as you can with Cast on Critical. Now, the other meta gem or the other meta spell we're using is Spellslinger. Spellslinger is a new addition the content creator added recently and after quite a bit of translation. So how this works is that we're running a spark that is auto-casted by Spellslinger. When you are blinking around, you'll be charging the energy coming from Spellslinger. And this means you have energy retention, you have boundless energy, together with projectile acceleration to get this spark to go as quickly as you can, which enables you to have the triggers for the lightning bolt, because this critical hit coming from this particular socketed spark can trigger multiple lightning bolt, which in return will give you the trample effect that is over here. Now do keep in mind, the weapon of choice is a dueling wand, and this is where you get the Spellslinger from. So dueling wand is an essential base for this build because of the Spellslinger spell that is freely granted coming from this weapon. As we keep going, we have Sigil of Power. This is on the second weapon swap. I better come back to the weapon over here. The second weapon swap, we're using a chimney staff. It doesn't have to be anything special. Anything with a bit of skill rank can work. It's very basic stuff, but the chimney staff is something that if you wanted more damage, which is very rare once you get the build going, you have ways of getting Sigil of Power that can be combined with prolonged duration, with rapid casting, additional area, additional cooldown recovery, and also additional cost recovery. Those are just something that is minimal that gives you more damage as you cast spells within the circle. It's just a bonus, and you don't really see the counter creator even using this because it's just too easy without even casting this. So secondary weapon swap is a bonus. Now, Lightning Bolt. This is another free spell that is granted from the amulet. You want to get this amulet to be as high rank Lightning Bolt spell as you can. That is the biggest focus. After that, this amulet can also be evolved with additional resistance or stats you're missing. And this should be quality 20 to lightning. Very important, because quality 20 to lightning means the lightning bolt itself will have quality 20 to lightning as well. And this is one of your major source of damage in terms of map clear. This is combined with Spell Cascade, Elemental Focus, Deliberation, and also Concentrated Area, and also Lightning Mastery for even higher ranks. So let's briefly finish this, and then we talk about how the skills interact. Now, Orb of Storm is almost never used, but it can be used for additional damage, so I thought I'd include this as well. This is combined with Elemental Focus, Aparosa, Lightning Mastery, Considerate Casting, and also Overabundance. We do have a secondary spark that we cast against strong monsters and also against the boss. So one of the ways of auto casting is coming from Spellslinger. The other way of manually casting against the boss for tremendous more damage is a 6 linked or 5 socketed spark. This is combined with Science Templar, which is a very cool new lineage gem. This is also combined with Projectile Acceleration, with Lightning Mastery, with Prolonged Duration, and finally with Rapid Casting. This spell is here to critical. So how it works is, this particular spark that criticals will enable you to have the cast on critical. So cast on critical that triggers the comments, which pretty much one-shot all the bosses, is triggered by a manually casting of a spark. But while you are blinking around, you are actually gaining meta energy coming from Spellslinger, which this spark will trigger Lightning Bolt. So notice there's two separate loops of cast on critical and also cast on meta gems coming from Spellslinger. Against most of the mapping, you're pretty much just blinking, getting energy from Spellslinger that can trigger Spark, and then this Spark will trigger Lightning Bolt, and then the Lightning Bolt itself will pretty much one-shot everything with Trample with massive AoE damage. And having lower cooldowns means your Lightning Bolt can sit on 0.1 second cooldown, which is very, very fast. The counter creator had 0.08 second cooldown for the Lightning Bolt itself. Finally, one of the preferable curses is actually vulnerability. So this means we can have longer duration, stronger curses, stronger area, and also here with the curse ground just on the floor. It is rarely used. Orb of Storm and also vulnerability, even the Sigil of Power is not really used because everything dies so fast. But why physical damage of armor break is because that we have the bloodletting. This deals a lot of more physical damage for our comment. And this means if we lower the enemy's armor, that's also really good to deal even higher damage. But that's not as needed compared to most other builds because we deal so much damage. And just coming back, the Wolf Spirit also give us even better armor break together with casting speed. So we'll be coming over to the passive tree, and there is quite hefty amount of pathing we go through. So what we're looking on the passive tree is that once you have capped your critical hit chance, if you haven't, you take the critical hit chance, of course. But once you have capped this, we want critical damage, of course. And after that, we want as much casting speed as we can everywhere on the passive. And you can see the general formation over here. We path over here for the keynote. We path over here, so we can be using the Undying Hate, which will convert this one into the Bloodmage Life Restoration. We don't really need any of the key passives, so any basic Takrot jewel will work. You don't even have to craft it, or you can craft it once for some bonus stats. To follow from this, we have a number of jewels that is recommended, but it is not a necessity. One recommendation is against the Darkness Jewel. This one is combined with multiple knots that gives you Spirit. Because we have a number of meta skills that needs a lot of Spirit, if you're short on Spirit over here, one way to kind of cheat to get more Spirit is to perk over here to those knots, which can be very good in terms of getting more Spirit. But that will cost you a lot of skill passives that can be used for survivability. So what was recommended was this particular cool jewel. There isn't that much on the market because it's combined with both of them, and the content creator did recommend going with Deep Trace and also Overzealous. I was fortunate enough to find the last one on the market, but what this does is this will give you the Overzealous over here, saving you about 3 points, which is not the biggest deal. It also gives you a spell over here, which is called Deep Trace. Can I find Deep Trace? Deep Trace. It's somewhere over here. Okay, let's go to the game. Let's find it over here. Deep Trace. I think it's a knot over here. Did I mistype it? What is happening? Or maybe I just put this in to show you guys. So, there you go. Deep Trace. So Deep Trace is also recommended to take because this gives you cost efficiency, which will help you because your Blood Mage is actually spending a lot of your life in terms of casting the comments. Sometimes you can kill yourself with a comment, how expensive it is. So having Deep Trace with a 15% mana efficiency over here, it's something that provides you with a little bit of health reduction. So I think the content creator mentioned that his health cost for comments went from 600 or 800 to 500 or 400. So it's a pretty sizable health cost reduction coming from the juice. But again, those are optional because you can still path towards them. You don't need the Mega Gem over here. As we mentioned over here, the Mega Maniac is a bonus to save some skill passives. As we keep going through over here, if you guys are short on passive, especially on cooldown reduction, there's some really nice node over here with the cooldown reduction. So you take those two to give you guys even better cooldown reduction. So this is why later we're going to look into the budgeting. So notice I'm searching this gem. Currently, I bought the last one. It wasn't cheap though. It was like 75 divine. So for this one, for the Temporalis, notice this is 0.8 seconds. If you go for a cheaper Temporalis, then you definitely want to come over here for the cooldown reduction that is available. I think those are the two best ones over here. You might be able to find some other ones, but those two are the best. So you can also find cooldown reduction on the skill jewel coming from the helmet, which is not the biggest deal, but it's not bad. We also forgot to mention about the rune choices. So the rune choices here, the rune over here, which provide +1 rank to the weapons, is +1 skill rank, spell rank on the weapon. Is not cheap, and he even valved this one for 3 sockets. The runes over here are all casting speed runes on the gloves. It's essential to have great casting speed. The runes over here are just great iron runes that gives you better energy shield for survivability, while the runes on the boots are just resistance runes because you don't need movement speed, so you can build up even higher resistance using the rings and also the runes over here. Finally, the Old Talisman over here will give you another 10% cooldown reduction recovery, which helps you with lower cooldowns. Of course, the build is all about lower cooldowns, right? So the rune over here with the Old Talisman, yes, under focus, especially when you can get 2 sockets, that's really good for even lower cooldown reduction. So coming back to the passive tree, I know I'm jumping a little bit because it is a new build. I want to cover everything. You can see there's a lot more, I guess, critical hit chances once you have crit recently. So this is why I want to get 100% critical chance together with even higher damage after critting, which is very good for the build. Now the build itself runs a lot of critical hit chance, trigger chance, and also trigger gems, of course. And you can follow the passive as you see it. So the passive over here from the content creator is mainly focused on the actual cooldown reduction, focus on survivability, casting speed, and he's not so much into damage because he feels there is enough damage. Now in terms of the Ascension passives, the counter crit actually went for more survivability. So base critical hit chance for spells is very welcome, the instant life leech is very good, and over here we do have the additional maximum life equal to the energy shield of the equipped body armor. So he didn't go for the additional critical bonus, because his HP is not as high and he feel like it's better to go with more survivability, just so you guys know. You can of course take those 2 points and come over here for even high damage, but it is optional, because the Temporalis build, you blink a lot, it is possible to die instantly because it's on such a short life. This is why he preferred to go with more survivability in terms of the Ascension passive. Now, before we finish, let's briefly have a look at the skill rotations, and I think it's quite important to understand what is happening because he's just blinking around and it's hard to tell like what's what. So, starting off over here, what you can see on the skill bar is there is multiple skills that were mentioned is on the skill bar, but he's not using them. So most of the time as he fight across the map, the only thing he's pressing is Spellslinger once that comes off cooldown, or once that has enough mana gain. Of energy gain. So Spellslinger is used once the energy fills up as it blink. So he's basically pressing spacebar to blink and just casting the Spellslinger whenever that's ready. And because it's an auto casting spell kind of, so it doesn't delay his action speed, it doesn't delay his casting speed. So you can see that he is just blinking and also auto casting Spellslinger over here. And that is 99% of the fight. Everything dies pretty much just because of that. And just to fast forward a little bit, he came back for the boss, I believe. Did he already kill the boss? Okay, he came back for the boss, and you can see. So, what's happening with the boss, and how did it die so fast? Here are some combination. If you want to do more damage, you cast Sigil of Power from the second weapon swap, and then you cast your curses from the second weapon swap with vulnerability, which is great additional damage. But the bigger focus over here is that he's manually casting the spark. So remember there are 2 sparks. One spark is over here that is auto-casted with Spellslinger, once it is have enough meta skill energy. The second spark is what he used for bossing. So before the boss comes, or before the actual fight, it's over here. Before the boss arrives, he'll be casting spark on the ground, and this just prepare him for the boss. And once the boss comes, the spark will trigger multiple comments. The comments is so fast that you don't really get to see it. It just annihilated the boss within a multiple trigger. Only a few comments come because the boss died so fast. So the menu casting of the 5-socketed spark is all you needed pretty much for bossing. And this is also the case for the other boss fights. Here we get to the boss. So he already killed the boss. So this is under the boss. And over here is just blinking around. I killed it so fast I can't even show you. Okay, here's the boss. So again, he's manually casting the spark, and that is what he does for bossing. But other than that, he's just blinking around, using the Spellslinger while he's blinking around, and that just enough everything. And that is pretty much it. It is a 1-button build, and I really needed the button. You just waited for the boss to spawn, and then you go along with your business. It is super fast, quite durable, very entertaining, and definitely a build I'll be working on this week to demonstrate to you guys the budgeting and also the choices of gears, and let's see if I can help to make the build a little bit cheaper and a little bit better. So again, a big shout out and also credits to Dan Wu over here, the Chinese content creator. All the demonstrations will be available, and should you be able to speak Chinese, you can watch his detailed explanation. So this one's 29 minutes. There are 2 that is 10 minutes and also 9 minutes with additional adjustments to his build, which we have in our setup. I did do quite a bit of research, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this build. And yes guys, next and also future videos will be looking into the same build, and I have gotten a few of the crucial gears, and I'll be slowly getting the rest of the gears, selling my older gears, and then transitioning. That said, the minion build is wonderfully good. I might even try Temporalis minion build, who knows. I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe I will try Temporalis minion build. Well, stay tuned for those videos to come as well. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Let's Learn video guide. I do plan to learn a lot of good build that is available in the meta, especially some of the cool endgame build. So if you have a recommendation for me to learn any cool build that is in Chinese or English, you can send me a direct message below and let's have a look at something cool for the new season for Path of Exile 2. Now before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is gonna be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.